Greetings, globeheads and flurfers. The last few videos I've done have been on the obvious flaws in flat earth or logic, of course, using the word logic very loosely. And this one has bothered me for quite some time now. The one problem with talking about anything that flat earthers believe is that there's always going to be somebody out there who accuses you of making a straw man because you're gonna mention something they don't believe, and this is really, as people who believe in the globe reality, this isn't our fault. This is the fault of the flat earthers who have no model. And see, if you have no model, no two flat earthers believe exactly the same thing, then sooner or later somebody's going to mention something that you particularly don't believe. But these are widespread beliefs among flat earthers, so don't try it with your straw man fallacy argument. But there's two things that most flat earthers believe. One is recently you've had a whole bunch of flat earthers making all these videos about the air pressure and the argument that this somehow defies the laws of physics because you can't have air pressure without a container, blah, 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 blah. And they'll argue that this is proof, the fact that we have air pressure is proof that there is a dome, because only a dome can seal in air pressure, according to them. And they completely ignore or try to explain away the fact that we obviously have an air pressure gradient. As you go up in altitude, the air pressure decreases, and this is completely consistent with what you would expect if our air pressure was created by gravity. The further you go up in altitude, the less air molecules there are above you. Air is not weightless; it has a mass. It's attracted by gravity. So the more air you have above you, the higher the pressure. Makes perfect sense. The same is actually true when you go into the water. The big difference between water and air is that water doesn't have the compressibility that air does. You can actually force larger quantities of air down into a smaller space. Water doesn't have that. I don't know if it's called elasticity or what it would be called, but it doesn't have that nature. The atoms simply cannot be packed much tighter together than they are. But anyway, most flat earthers have been preaching this, and most believe that this air pressure is proof of a dome, because without a dome sealing it in, we wouldn't be able to have pressure. But one argument that many flat earthers have also made is they go back to the 1958 to 1962 time period when both Russia and the United States were conducting a lot of nuclear tests, and there was a lot of high altitude nuclear testing done. The United States actually had a name for theirs. Operation Fishbowl was the testing of nuclear weapons at high altitude to see what the effects would be. Russia was doing the same thing during the same time period, or I should say the Soviet Union at the time. Anyway, many flat earthers have argued that this is proof that Russia and the United States both discovered there was a dome up there. They both knew the truth, and so they were both seeing if they could crack it open or somehow bust through it with nuclear weapons, which they failed to do. So if you think about this, this is essentially the argument that these folks are making. That we live in a dome, that we only have air pressure to breathe because of this dome holding in the pressure. That governments around the world know this and are hiding the truth from you. And that both our government and the Soviet government between 1958 and 1962 were trying to blast a hole in this dome that was holding in the pressure so we all could live and breathe. So apparently, flat earthers believe that whoever these government officials are that are making the decisions, apparently they don't breathe air, or they don't have to live on this earth, or that breaking our dome and letting all our air pressure out would not actually kill all of them too. I'm being serious here, folks. I know it's hard to keep a straight face, but this is actually what some flat earthers believe when you put two and two together. How's that for logic? Um, this is just another example of why, when you carry out the flat earthers' own arguments to its logical conclusion, um, it's a joke. It doesn't make any sense. Um, Folks, there's a lot of fun to be had out there on YouTube. But don't fall for the snake oil salesman. They either haven't thought all of this through, or they know the truth and they're selling you clickbait. Okay, they just want you to watch their videos. Um, I think there's both types out there. I think there's some people in the flat Earth movement who know it's a bunch of crap, but it gets a lot of clicks and they make money off of it. And then I think there's some others uh, that are really, really stupid, and their logic just doesn't exist. Good night.